All right, part two, we're just going to take a C major chord. Okay, C major chord is a triad. It has three notes. It has a root, a third, and a fifth. That's always a root, major, 3, 5 for major, right? But we're not going to play those notes in order. And this is something that was really confusing to me. And I wrote it out earlier, right? Because it can be really, really, really confusing. But anytime that you have the notes C, E, and G, you can say generically, well, that's a C major. It doesn't matter what order they're in. So, for example, way up here, all I'm going to do is put one finger down on the B string at the first fret. That means that I'm going to play only 3 strings. I'm going to play the G string, the B string, and the E string. If I put my first finger down on that first fret, B string, and I'm left with G, C, and E. That's a C major chord, C, E, G, but it's out of order, G, C, E. In theory, we would call that a C in the second inversion, because if you're thinking C, E, G, but you're moving the G over here, right? I don't know. It doesn't, maybe on paper it makes more sense. Anyway, let's go back to it. G, C, E, 0, 1, 0. Now, we're going to find this note, C, on the 3rd string, the G string. That's at the 5th fret. Now we need to find the E. That's at the 5th fret of the 2nd string. So we have a C at the 5th of the G string, an E at the 5th of the B string, and a G at the 3rd fret of the 1st string. So we have 5, 5, 3. That is C, E, G. It's a C major chord. Same chord, different voicing, because the notes are in a different order, but they're the same 3 notes. We can do it again. This time, let's find that C note on the 1st string, because we played the C note on the 2nd string. Now we've played the C note on the 3rd string. That C note is going to be at the 8th fret of the 1st string. Then we find the E. Well, we've played the E on the 1st string and the E on the 2nd string. Now we need to find the E on the 3rd string. It's at the 9th fret. So we have one finger on 8 of the 1st string and one finger on 9 of the 3rd string. All that's left is a G chord, or the G note, excuse me. The G note is going to be on the 2nd string because we've played it on the 3rd, we've played it on the 1st. That note is found at the 8th fret of the B string. So we have 8, 8, 9. That is a C chord as well. This time in 1st inversion. The lowest note is the 3rd, right? So we have root position where the root, the C note, is the lowest. We have 1st inversion where the 3rd of the chord is the lowest, E. First, or root, 1st inversion, and then 2nd inversion, where the 5th is the lowest note. That can also be played way up here. It's the same. We can go over that a little later too. So now we have to do that on all the strings. So we have a C, open, 1, open, 5, 5, 3, 9, 8, 8. I would literally play and say something like 5, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 3, 5, 1, G, C, E, C, E, G, E, G, C, right? Go through those intervals, go through the note names. Then you would move to the next string set. So instead of playing strings 1, 2, 3, we would play strings 2, 3, 4. And it would look something like this. 2, open, 1. That's a C. That's E, G, C. Then we would go something like this. 5, 5, 5. That's G, C, E. Then 10, 9, 8. C, E, G. Okay. Now we move to strings 5, 4, 3. That would look something like this. 3, 2, open. Those are frets, right? C, E, G. Then something like 7, 5, 5. E, G, C. Then something like 10, 10, 9. G, C, E. Then, I'm out of tune. Then you would do the last string set, which would be 4, 5, 6, and it would look like this. G, C, E, or 3, 3, 2. Then something like this. 8, 7, 5. C, E, G, then something like this, 12, 10, 10. All right, that's part 2. You don't have to do the whole thing, but I would encourage you to, at the very least, you might get the most mileage using the bottom 3 or 4 strings, but by bottom I mean the low, right? But it might be really good for you to grab some of these high strings too, right? All right.